morning, everybody. St. Louis County is the largest county in the state. We are the economic engine of the region. And we're proud to be a place where you can make a good living, where you can raise a family in an inclusive community, where you can get a good education. People in St. Louis County have come to appreciate and respect the level of service that they get from county government and the quality of life that comes with it. And I'm proud of the work that our county employees do, their tasks and their duties that they accomplish with very limited resources. And that's what makes St. Louis County such a vibrant place to live and to work. Sadly, we're at an inflection point. The County Council has made significant cuts to our budget this year, which will lead to a reduction of services in several places. As members of the County Council said during the budget hearings, departments will need to learn to live within their means, no matter how deep the cuts are in their departments. Tough decisions have to be made, but services can't continue as they currently do. So my staff and I have spent the past month going through the County Council's budget and trying to understand the cuts that have been made. But my staff, my department heads tell me that they can't continue with the same level of services with this budget. So today and in the coming weeks, I'm going to announce some of the service reductions that are necessary because of these budget cuts. We'll start with our West County Satellite Office located at 70 Clarkson Wilson Drive in Chesterfield. This is where you can pay your taxes. This is where you can apply in person for senior property tax freeze. It's where our Department of Transportation and Public Works and Department of Public Health have employees that they call home. About 30 employees work there. So on Friday, February 27th, this will be the last day that county residents can get county government services at this location. This location will be closed. All employees will be moved to other offices in St. Louis County, but they will continue working for the county. They'll move to Northwest Crossing, South County, or to Clayton. The cost of operating West County office is about $110,000. We've already told the landlord that we will not be renewing the lease. In addition to the lease costs, we'll save on security, on utilities, and on cleaning. We'll also be trimming our hours at our other 3 county locations in South County, in Northwest Crossing, and in Clayton. These offices will close to the public at 3:30. This is 1 hour earlier than currently in South County, Northwest Crossing, and 3:30 is 90 minutes earlier than our Clayton office. The council cut $2 million from the Department of Revenue budget. The short staff had already been leading to excessive overtime and burnout of our county employees. So reducing our service hours will allow us to cut those overtime costs. It will allow us to decrease some of our security service costs, and that will be meaningful. To also help our Department of Revenue staff, they will no longer be processing in-person senior tax freeze applications on Fridays. They will continue to process in-person applications at our 3 government centers Monday through Thursday, but Friday will be reserved for our county employees to go through those applications. Budget cuts have also forced us to cancel a contract with a temporary agency that had also been helping with some of the Department of Revenue work. Another area where our residents will see impact of the County Council budget cuts are in our Parks Department. The St. Vincent's Pool in North County and the Kennedy Rec Center in South County will not open this summer. The Kennedy Pool is 50 years old and it has a water main break that has been extraordinarily expensive to repair and maintain. The parts for the pool that it's needed are no longer available. It would cost more than $100,000 to repair the water main and to maintain this pool. By closing the St. Vincent's pool in North County, we'll save $200,000. This comes from $30,000 to repair the water main to this pool, $40,000 for the pool management company, and $137,000 that it would cost to hire lifeguards for this pool in the summer. Our limited resources in the Parks Department will be better utilized by dividing them among the other parks facilities. The North County Rec Center pool will remain open this summer, and the pavilion at Lime will be open this summer as well. The Kennedy pool and the St. Vincent's pool have a much lower community participation, and that's one of the reasons why those pools were chosen for closure. So let's be clear, these are not cuts that my office wanted to make. The budget that I sent to the county council would have allowed us to avoid all of these service reductions, services that residents enjoy. I proposed that the council use the RAM settlement funds to bridge the budget gap for a year and put a ballot question in front of the voters for an internet sales tax, also known as a use tax, which would bring us between $45 million and $75 million, which would close the gap between revenues and expenditures. It would address the deficit. It would allow us to not make these service reductions, and it would allow us to even consider some other long-term improvements. The council so far has not agreed to put this question in front of the voters. They have said repeatedly that they don't think the voters are interested in any sort of new taxes. As a reminder, St. Louis County has not had a property tax increase since 1985. That's 40 years. And we've watched over the past 4 decades as municipalities and school districts have brought tax proposals in front of the voters and made an argument for investments in their political subdivisions, for new technology, and continue the same services. That's what I have proposed for St. Louis County. Let the voters decide whether or not they want to see service reductions or new revenue. It's my position that if we explain to the voters why we need these services, that they'll support it. But we won't know unless the council votes to put the use tax on the ballot and let the voters decide. Meanwhile, we will continue to review the budget weekly and look for creative ways to continue as many of our services as possible. But the cost of doing business in St. Louis County increases every day. The reductions that are coming in services will come from recommendations of our department directors and conversations about how to best utilize the limited resources that we have. Please keep in mind as we move through 2026 that the council and I both agree that we have a budget problem. We have a different approach to how to deal with it. The council has made a commitment to cuts and service reductions, and they've told the department directors to come back in the middle of the year and ask for more money if they think they need it. The county government can't operate on a maybe. The vendors that we do business with, our community partners, can and won't do business on maybe. The departments, our county government, we can only spend the money that's been appropriated in the budget. For example, the Parks Department can't open a pool this summer if the money isn't appropriated now. This is the time that we hire seasonal staff. We hire them now. This is the time that we buy chemicals and other supplies to maintain our pools. We don't buy them in the middle of the summer. Now, the council may argue that they gave the county department the same amount of money that they got the year before. But what they did not recognize was that last year the county council also approved raises for our police officers and all of our other county employees. Raises that we're bound to by collective bargaining agreements. In order to maintain that level of commitment to our employees, we need another $10 or $15 million in the budget that wasn't there last year, or we need to make deep cuts in county services. Now, either our council doesn't understand how the budget works, or they're not taking this process seriously. It shows a basic misunderstanding of how our budget process works. As I said earlier, we will continue to discuss over the next few weeks the service reductions that will be required by these county council budget cuts. And I'll be glad to answer any questions. I have Erica Savage with me, who is the acting director of the Department of Revenue, and can also respond to any of your questions.
Sam, just the cuts you announced today amount to what percentage of the overall amount you're going to have to cut, or do you know yet?
No, I don't know that yet. We will have to cut more, and we will have to have more service reductions. I am confident of that. The county council's position is that they will not appropriate additional funds until the middle of the year, and we can't operate a government on something that may come in the middle of the year.
By more, do you mean significantly more? I'm just trying to put some perspective on how many
more
more?
budget significant more service reductions are coming as a result of these budget cuts. This is just the first round.
Do you see, the council has said that they want to focus on what is charter required. Do you see this as being within the bounds of, outside that limitation, or are you seeing where there will be charter required services that will have to be
I
reduced?
think that's such a vague statement that I don't understand what it means. Charter required. We're required to provide a lot of services, and we're going to keep doing that. We're going to make sure that we provide public safety services, but there's a lot of ways to cut those services, and you can argue that it's not required to give police officers vehicles that are newer. You could tell them to use the road vehicles. It's not required in the charter to give our county employees raises. There's a lot of things that you can ignore and say are not required by the charter. What we're required is to provide first-class services to people in St. Louis County based on the revenue that they want to give us through their taxes, whether they're sales taxes or property taxes. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a conversation about what services people want to see in St. Louis County and what they're willing to pay for those services. But we need more revenue to continue to provide the services that people have been used to. We either need to spend some of the RAM sum funds to provide those services, or we need to cut the services and reduce the services that we're providing, because the budget that the county council has given us does not allow us to continue the same level of services as last year.
A question about Kennedy Rec Center. The pool won't operate. Are there other things at that rec center that will continue, or is that?
Yeah, the rec center stays open. We just can't operate a pool there. It's too expensive.
Just want to be sure. Okay. Thank you.
With the Chesterfield office closing, is there anything that moved online that people can access?
Oh yeah, everything's available online. We've had a massive shift to digital services over the past 5 years. That's been a priority of my administration, and those will continue. You can pay your taxes online. You can apply for the senior property tax freeze online. We like to provide satellite offices. That office is just not economically feasible to keep open with the budget that we've been given.
Dr. Peach, I know that the county has talked about the needed improvements to the jail and how it's runs out of some safety regulations. I think so. Is there any chance that these cuts could affect those needed improvements?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the health care to the public health budget's been cut. The medical services to the residents in the jail, that budget's been cut, and that will impact the care they get. The biggest problem we have in the jail is overcrowding. We have a record level of residents in the jail. It's going to be impossible to continue this without starting to have problems. We're the only accredited jail in the state. We run a very busy infirmary there. This is we've really dramatically improved the conditions in the jail and the medical care in the jail, and the opportunities for residents to do better when they leave the jail in the past 6 years. But the jail needs an investment. It needs some capital improvements, and our accrediting agency has recognized that and has told us that we need to do that. But there is, not only are those investments that we don't have the money to do that, but I don't believe that it was a good idea to cut the budget for the health care for people who are in the jail. That's gonna be a problem.
Speaking of health, I know that there was, going into the budget talks, a lot of concern about cuts to the health departments and potentially closing down some of the free clinics. Can you talk a little bit more about whether that could still be on the table, or I guess how could these budget cuts affect the health departments?
So the question is, how do the budget cuts have the health department, affect the health department and what's coming? I don't have an answer for that yet. Our director of the Department of Public Health is digging through her budget and trying to make recommendations on what has to be cut because it's been underfunded as well. We do hope that we can keep our 3 health clinics open. We are unique as a health department to provide direct care services to the community. We are unique that we have a federally qualified health center that will status, which will allow us to recover federal government funding for those services that are provided to people that don't have health insurance or are underinsured, and we want to continue those services. But the health budget has been cut, and we're just now starting to try to understand what we're going to have to reduce.
I was just gonna say, just to clarify, I was going back on this. You said that the services here in Clayton will close most days at 3:30. I assume you mean here in this building, services that deal with the public.
Yeah, the public service, our employees still work their same hours.
Right, doesn't.
But hours that the public will be available to come in and get services, if they're in line at 3:30, we'll take care of them. But after that, we won't be able to accept new people in line after 3:30 or Clayton Building.
So, summarize, what are the main services here? I think I generally know, but.
That's a question for you. I won't do that.
That average people come in and use regularly.
The bulk of the service provided at street level is for the Department of Revenue, and that is Recorder of Deeds office, that is licensing, and also the Collector of Revenue.
So paying taxes,
Correct.
other fees, marriage licenses, anything else I'm not thinking of off the top of my head?
Liquor license, yeah,
Those kinds of things.
those
Okay.
kind, yes.
Thank you.
So what's the benefit then if you're not allowing the public to access those services, but you're still, the employees are still here?
The benefit is with limited resources, it allows us to be able to take the staff members and to be able to do other tasks that we currently do not have the staff or the resources to be able to do.
What was your budget this year, your final number? 7? Yeah, so the Department of Revenue collects well over $20 million for St. Louis County. It earns over $20 million in fees for the service it provides in collecting over $2 billion of property taxes, processing them and getting them back out to over 200 political subdivisions in St. Louis County. Because that's a complex task, state law allows them to be paid for that service, and that payment is well over 20. They're only appropriated 8 to do that service. So they're super short-staffed, and we've asked them to do more work. We've asked them to start a new program called the Senior Property Tax Freeze. We're asking them to do more things with less money. They're burned out and they're short-staffed. We had a contract for temporary employees to help do some of this work, and the funds for that contract was cut from the budget.
If the use tax had been put on the April ballot, I think in the past, usually that's not, if it's approved, it got collected starting in about October. If you push it to August, and they've talked about maybe putting it on back-to-back ballots if it doesn't pass the first time, you're looking at into next year before any of that revenue would come in. So how do you balance between now and then?
So there's 3 or 4 questions there, and I'll try and address them all. We've talked about putting the use tax on the ballot for years. We put it on the ballot 3 or 4 years ago, and it didn't pass. So we're talking about putting it on the ballot at some point in the future, but you're right. I don't know if it's going to go on the ballot. If the use tax does go on the ballot, it will be a 6-month plus delay before we would see any of that revenue. So if it goes on the ballot, if talking about putting on the ballot ends up putting it on the ballot, and it goes on the ballot in August or November, we wouldn't see any of that revenue until at least 6 months later.
Just want to double check, the last article we ran, a detailed budget article, talked about 59 million roughly in RAM settle money your administration had proposed, and the council only put in about 15 million. Is that roughly accurate?
That's roughly accurate, but I would recommend that you talk to Doug to get the right number on that,
Okay.
yes. But,
Just want to be sure that nothing, so you still feel that amount's needed?
well, we can go back and look at that, but the position that the council's taken is they're not going to consider new appropriations until the middle of the summer, means that we're going to be talking about some really significant service reductions. We're not going to run the county on a maybe. We've got all kinds of contracts that our vendors aren't going to do business with us because we might pay them. We have to decide what's the most critical, what services can be reduced, and we'll be doing with less, and people will see less services from county government until the revenue to provide these services is restored.
Are there any agencies or services that you've ruled out, not cuts, but service cuts, anything off the table?
Well, we're going to look at everything. I mean, we don't like cutting public safety, but the council's already significantly cut public safety, and we're going to be talking about what that means here soon. I don't like to see public health cut. We're really down to the bare bones in county government. We've been trimming for the past 12 years since I've been involved in county government. We've been trimming since I've been here. We've gotten through with one-time funds, and we've been as thoughtful as we can with moving services online, with reducing the cost of in-person services. People in the community have gotten used to online services, and I think that's good. And we'll be talking about our satellite offices and whether or not people will have to get by with moving those satellite services online or to another location.
The range of revenue from a use tax, does that reflect now the fact that the county can't stack, as we learned in the marijuana, or is that range of outcomes on the projected revenue still?
So the projected revenue from the internet sales tax, sometimes called the use tax, is $45 to $75 million. There's no question, there's no stacking concerns about that tax, as we had with the marijuana tax. It's just a question of volume of receipts from the sales tax, which is relatively unpredictable. You never want to see a government depend too much on sales tax because it goes up and down with the economy, and it's just not as predictable of a revenue stream. And government services and government needs, government expenses are relatively predictable. So you want to match that with a revenue stream that you can depend on.
Any updates with this building and moving out, renovation hall that we talked about?
A question about this building. We got a letter from the Clayton Fire Marshal about a week ago that basically restated his position that there will be no public service in this building after the end of next year. So January 1st, 2028, this building occupancy permit will be revoked, and there will be no county services here. There will be no employees working out of here. And there will be a short period of time where we'll be able to access this building for the physical plant to provide HVAC services and electrical supply to the other county buildings on this campus, to the police headquarters, to the courts building, to the jail. But those accessing that will be limited. There's an emergency communication tower on the roof for the entire St. Louis region, and the fire marshal will allow us to have access to that for a limited period of time, but there won't be any public services in that building. We are currently talking to folks in the community about space opportunities, about places that we might be able to move to, which would be a temporary location while we reconsider what to do with this building, either to take it down or to gut it and get the asbestos out and the utilities fixed, to come into code with Clayton, or to take this building down completely and replace it. That's a question for 5 years from now. The question for the next year is where will be the temporary location of the services that are in this building right now.
Is Northwest Crossing still in negotiation?
Northwest Crossing is one potential location.
Is that space big enough to handle the transition, or do you still have to spread out from there?
It's big enough to handle most of what's here. We may be doing a little bit of moving around.
But you're not necessarily supportive of that, and you're not against, you haven't taken a position on where it's.
My job, this question is about our space, our temporary space opportunities and what that looks like. I need the best deal for the taxpayers in St. Louis County. I need a responsible deal. I need a good value for the taxpayers. I need space that we can occupy that is responsible, is a responsible financial commitment.
Different question, any additional details you or Doug can provide about the incident at the jail last Saturday beyond what was stated last night?
The question is about what happened in the jail last Saturday. I can tell you that for a couple of hours, there were some inmates that did want to go back in their cells, and some of our residents didn't want to return, and our corrections staff dealt with it. No one was in danger, and they went through the procedures and took care of it. There's a lot of rumors about what happened. We'll get a full report, and we'll be able to give you more details later.
So nothing beyond what was stated last night, pretty much, right? That you-
What was stated last night was...
I mean by you. I don't mean the other.
Yeah, what you heard last night about what happened in the jail was something between what really happened, amplification, exaggeration, and fabrication. And we're going to understand and learn from it, make some improvements. What happened Saturday night was absolutely due to overcrowding in the jail, and is absolutely in part due to not making the investments in the jail that we should be making. And we need to address the overcrowding in the jail, or we will have more issues. And we need to fully fund the health care in the jail, the health department, so they can provide health care to the residents in the jail, or we're going to have problems.
Just to clarify, yesterday, I think you and Doug said Saturday afternoon. It was actually Saturday night, or?
I don't know what time it
Oh,
was.
okay.
Your afternoon is my night. Depends on the So I can't give you any more details about what time it happened and what time it concluded.
We know it's Saturday.
I was involved in a conversation about it sometime late Saturday afternoon, and they told me what was happening, what their plan was, and then in an hour I heard it was under control. Any other questions? Okay, thank